So we had Dave Weigel on the show last week. You know what? Hold on. I didn't do it right. I, I don't want to listen to you. We can listen to Dave.
There we go.
All right. We had Dave on the show last week. We talked about how he's the victim of the silver bullet technique and like clockwork, like what you're hearing about, this is Dave talking like days after. I don't know if he knew this was even coming.
No,
Dave
no
Weigel,
idea.
family court fraud warrior. And I can't believe in the middle of the night, in the middle of my closet, I've got to barricade myself so my kids don't hear me have to give this testimony about yet another crime, another fraud upon the courts, being reported right on time for Christmas. Yeah, got 13 of my family members coming over to have a big slumber party in New York City, go see the tree. My first Christmas with the kids in 5 years. And right on cue. Right on cue. My ex has decided that this would be the 6th time she'd like to allege that there's been some crime committed that just happened.
All right, what's he talking about? What's about to happen to this guy?
Basically, I think it was maybe 6 months ago or 8 months ago that there was a conversation, and he called Georgina a part of the female anatomy in that text exchange, and she wasn't very charitable to him either. She called him a part of the male anatomy, and so I believe, and so that is being used as a basis, Dave says, for harassment claim in New York City. So she basically she told him that she's filed papers in New York City in the first precinct to have him arrested. She told this to him a few days before Christmas. This is when she lets it out. And she knew that he had his whole family. She knew he had his whole family coming in.
It should not.
13 members. They were going to go see
Listen,
the
one nasty comment 6 months ago is
6
not
8 months ago.
It shouldn't. I don't know what NYPD does, but if they arrest this guy because he once 6 months ago used a nasty comment towards her, a lot of people are going to be arrested. All right.
Well, and that's the point. And the point is that, this has happened before where the artfully drafted criminal complaint goes into to the precinct, and it's by this guy, Daniel Notes. He tells the person what to say
in order
to make it past the test that the NYPD has to take it. And then they're just kind of doing their job at this point. They have to take something that somebody swears to at face value and go and arrest the guy, either give him a desk appearance ticket or put him through the system through Rikers Island and back out, or through the wherever. And then the fact of the matter is, there's no follow up when it's a bullshit lie. When you do a bad faith lie, silver bullet, just to get somebody arrested, there should be, under the law, consequences, but it's never followed up on. And this woman has a history and a pattern of this line. Look, if you see, that's Tariq Shepard. I actually sent this to Tariq Shepard, the NYPD's deputy commissioner for public information. I've received nothing back from them. Okay, right. I sent the specific questions because I found about this on the Friday the 20th. It was a Friday. Obviously, they were dealing with a lot of stuff.
He hasn't been arrested.
He hasn't been arrested yet, and he hasn't. And so I don't think anything's happened with it. That's to say,
it might have been a bluff
during Christmas. It doesn't mean he might not get arrested. I'm trying to find out what's going on here. Now, they're dealing with a lot of stuff with Mangione. They're dealing with a lot of stuff with a lot of other.
Not everyone in NYPD is dealing with Mangione. They have enough manpower to deal with this as well. If he gets arrested because 6 months ago he said a nasty word, we got a really big problem. All right, that's all I can tell you on that.
Hi, everybody. Dave Weigel, family court fraud warrior, working on some inferior technology because I don't have the time to get a professional video done. Now, this is David Weigel, family court fraud warrior, again, putting official testimony on permanent public record. But this time not to Doge, to the NYPD, because those that are following the story know that I've been given a new surprise for this Christmas. It was already written up by the journalists following this case. And there seemed to be one mistake, though. It seemed to be all focused around how this was all about ruining my Christmas. My ex notifies my daughter right before, as she's missing her train to come into the city, that no, she had no choice but to put in the 6th arrest complaint against her father because, and told my daughter outright, no, he has been harassing me like crazy for the last 2 months, and she just had to. And then she called my sister and gave her the full lineup story. And she knows exactly which sister to call and how to push her buttons. So the first thing I need to do right here and now is give official testimony that in no way, shape, or form did that happen at all. This complaint is going in by way of Daniel Notes because he knows the way he set up this scam is the combination of the fact that there is this restraining order in place for 5 years illegally when not a single thing for why the restraining order is in place has been proven true. Yet it somehow, by Judge Tandra Dawson, keeps getting renewed every 6 months or every year for 5 years to a non-criminal. Why? How? What does it afford them? Oh, possibly when there's a whistleblower saying things that they don't want, that they have a magic elixir of being able to arrest him time and time again with people's jaws dropping to the floor. How this is possible? Because it's the same reason how they get the cops involved in this, by structuring it so that they're just doing their job. Wait, it says here, if there's a restraining order in place, all the rules about probable cause don't have to come into play. No? Okay. Now, again, they did this for a very good reason in the beginning. If some wife is getting ass beaten by a horrible asshole of a guy, you don't want to come back and tell her you come back when you have evidence, right? But what does that do? That now opens that up for abuse by pieces of garbage that don't have evidence and know they can have this done time and time again just on their word. But she couldn't at this time, okay, to go in there just her word alone. No. That's what made Connecticut DA just walk completely away and say, I'm not going anywhere near this, okay? So she had to go in there with something. And they're allowed to go in with a cherry-picked single text message. That was the story of the last 4 years of my life and what Connecticut just walked completely away from. But as the journalist who reached out to NYPD's public relations arm asked, what responsibility do the police have to investigate the validity of the claim? Oh, well, that's the thing. They're able to have very special powers in this family court by making it, well, the domestic violence laws and the laws regarding children and abuse say that we can't wait. We can't wait for evidence to actually show up. So they have a free ticket to abuse like this, but it serves a much deeper, bigger purpose. Much deep, bigger purpose. I kept asking myself after my last proposal that I put out with a 4-part plan and a solution, and it answered some questions. And I got 50 responses from around the country, all victims, support groups, whistleblowers like myself standing up. As I said before, people from the inside, lawyers. There's one lawyer sleeping with a gun in Colorado. She's so scared. Another lawyer destroyed. Most of the people destroyed. The system has a way of isolating people and then destroying them so they don't have the ability to stand up and do this. But now This has gotten to a critical mass because never before did we have a way for all these victims to get the word out in a line, as we're doing right now. So the timing is very, very, very apropos. Right now, there's 2 RICO cases going forward at the point of actually not subpoena, but in the discovery, calling for the financial transactions between the lawyers and the judges. And I want to just send a message out right now to those people putting forth these RICO cases. This is what I've been doing this for. So you don't have to just look at your case. You can look at the last 18 months and everything that I've been saying and know that this follows the exact same playbook. And they know that, and they need to silence this whistleblower now. That is the reason why this arrest potentially is happening now. But I started asking, I said, something's not right here. You know, the journalist automatically assumed this is about, you know, how crazy my ex is and how she can be sitting here destroying my kids' Christmas, my family's, and how only a deranged person can do that. That's been discussed and laid out. And yes, I have the evidence that shows my ex fails the hair psychopathy checklist handily. But it all goes deeper than that. It's not just, it was never about Christmas. No, telling me that and telling my sister, it was never about giving my sister a heads up or giving me a heads up, okay? Why would they do that? No, this was never about ruining Christmas that way, all right? The police coming, pulling me out of my home on Christmas Day in front of 10 kids, bad PR move. That wasn't happening. But now the kids are home, now my family's home, and it's just me. What would be a reason that they would come now? Got me thinking. And it's only 2 reasons. One is, the police are as corrupt as everybody, and all of them in the 1st precinct. And I know that's not true. I know that's not true. I know there's good people in these systems. And I'm going to explain how I know that there's good people in this system, because there were 4 that have been so key in my case, and how they've been silenced is what I need to share with the American public, because that is the structure and the tactic we need to, the structure that we need to take apart. Because there's many, many of these good people in this system that I get why they haven't stuck their neck out. Number one, it would have failed. They don't have a regulator to go to begin with, right? So you can understand how they could just be underneath their breath, like, how is this happening? And just not feel empowered enough to be able to do anything. But it got me thinking how else they manage it. Because there's no way they could just have these systems completely filled with the horrible types that can actually do this. The sociopaths and the narcissists. They can't, it's too big of a body of people. So they have to have a mechanism in place to shut these people up, and nothing works like fear. This is all mafia tactics and Gestapo tactics. And it answered a lot of questions about how all these people reaching out to me from all over the country, most of them are, vast majority, destroyed. Completely destroyed. But there's a lot of people still in the fight that are reaching out to me, just like I am. And if we've ever had an opportunity to unite all these victims from around the country and have had a groundswell enough to be able to overcome it, it's now. So let me first just come out blatantly and just say this allegation is 100% a lie. I know how this is supposed to happen and why I would be arrested, and that is not because everyone in NYPD is bad. Absolutely not. I have evidence of the exact opposite. All right? It's because they set it up so that it's their job. They just got to do it. How is it their job? How is it their job not to look into this and see how untrusted this allegation could be? Is because they're taking advantage of the laws around domestic violence and child abuse and harm, which says we don't need all the regular stuff. We don't need all the probable cause. We don't need all the evidence. We only need restraining order, signed off by a judge, and someone with the gall to put in the sixth allegation, knowing how proven her 5 other lies before that led to it have become at this point. Because the real goal was not about for me to lose Christmas. It was about my daughter losing her sweet 16, which is Saturday. Yep, if I'm arrested today, tomorrow, whenever, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be there to be able to organize the 30 girls that are getting on a party bus that I rented and going to the Airbnb that I rented so she can have not only a sweet 16, but a sweet 16 sleepover. The DJ won't be able to get in touch with me to get there. The food truck, my family will show up. They know. And what's the purpose of that? Well, my daughter apparently needs to learn the lesson, just like all the people on the inside. What happens to do-gooders who speak up? Oh, they've got a vested interest well beyond David Weigel and my daughter for why they do these things. Fear. To manage the entire body so that nobody feels safe enough to stick their head out and call foul. That's the reason this is really happening. And if this goes forward, that's the real reason it's happening. But I'm going to get ahead of it and think, well, if all they need is this restraining order, I can't do anything about this existing. All right. So clearly it just means that the police have no ability to investigate the dirty judge that keeps signing it into existence. Oops. Okay. But then what is the other thing that it allows for? Oh, my ex to come forth with a single cherry-picked text. Oh, they don't have any mechanism or ability to obligation or ability to look at the entire context. She's only offered this cherry-picked text. So they've got to go to the next step of just arrest David Weigel. But then in the process of the system, yes, it'll come out like the previous 5, that it was completely a lie. But if your whole goal was the arrest in the first place, if all the damage can come from the arrest in the first place, don't need to see it all the way through to a conviction. The arrest does the damage itself. Because the first time that this happened before in New York, when I got sent up to Rikers, that was a fluke that I got out. That was a miracle. By one of the good guys I know is in the first precinct of the NYPD. And this made every guy I talked to in Rikers, when I told them this story, their jaws hit the floor. They could not believe the story that I was telling them. It was that much of a fluke. Yeah. I had a seizure on the 3rd day I was in central booking, when I knew that I was not waiting for my lawyer to show up, and it was not a mistake. No. This was by design. I was going up to Rikers. I had a seizure. I went to the hospital, and they had to assign a police officer to be with me this entire time. And we were talking. And he heard me. We had enough time to talk. And he knew. He looked in my eyes and he saw what I was going through. And this hero reached in his pocket and gave me his cell phone to call my lawyer, my dad, and my dog walker to feed my dogs. I don't know his name, but I just need him to know. And I want the world to know that this guy's a hero. And there are people on the inside like him, doing what they can. That was all he could do to help me. Couldn't stop me from going to Rikers. Couldn't stop the arrest from actually happening. But he was able to do just that much. Just like the original judge that I got in the case, Gail Adams, saw my ex was lying from the very first day we were in there. She said on the record, wait a second. There's this altercation with you and your husband. And your natural reaction was the first thing that you did was go into your 9-year-old daughter's room and bring her into it? Instead of shielding her from this, your reaction was to bring her into it? And we didn't even get into the conversation how she made my 9-year-old daughter then call up my family, my mother, my brother, my sisters, and have a 9-year-old girl say, Daddy beat up mommy. Judge asked, no, why did you have the 9-year-old? Wasn't there anybody else there? She said, oh yeah, the nanny was there. Why did you have the nanny do it if you couldn't do it? If you were too broken up, why did you have to have the 9-year-old do it? Oh, the nanny was too broken up over it, the shock of it all. So naturally, involve your 9-year-old daughter. Not good enough for Gail Adams. Saw right through it. She ordered attorney for child, Rita Restivo, on the case to go see the kids the very next day. Very next day, she went over there and interviewed the kids. And on a Friday, this woman with a cane humped it all the way back to court to tell the judge. And the judge immediately, right then and there, threw out everything my ex was asking for. Gave me unsupervised visitation to the kids 2 days later. Couldn't even wait for Monday. I had to see the kids on Sunday. So right there, original judge and original attorney for child already figured it out. And then Child Protective Services, Susan Bennett, investigated it and came up with the most unheard of response and result to her investigation. Yes, she determined, she stuck her neck out there. She was so convinced. She found the wife, the one complaining that her husband's beating her. Her report found her guilty of endangering her children. That's how obvious it was to these three people in the system, who all three did the right thing, yet did not stop the case from being transferred to IDV, to Tondra Dawson's court, at the direction of Daniel Notes. And it's very, very interesting what happened there. Rita Restivo, the attorney for child, the judge was out. Okay, once it's transferred out, what could she do? Nothing. All right. Susan Bennett, her report was sealed. She was silenced. What else was she supposed to do? She wrote the report. But the attorney for child, Rita Restivo, she resigned from the case as soon as she heard where it was going. As soon as it was announced it was going to Tondra Dawson's court in IDV, as if I was found guilty. Not the opposite of what occurred. As if I was found guilty. It got transferred to integrated domestic violence at the request of Daniel Notes. And as soon as Rita Restivo found out who was involved, which judge, she resigned. Why? Because she said, I walk with a cane. I have a disability. I can't make it all the way over to the other court. Now, what people don't know, especially not from New York, is the court I was in was 100 Center Street. The court she's talking about, 60 Center Street. It was across the street. So what did she say? She said, in the way that she could, I'm not going to be a part of this fraud. But all she could do was resign, and resign in a way that let everybody else know just how much a fraud this thing is, and has been from the beginning. Did it stop where I'm at now? No. Does that mean I don't appreciate what they did? And the fact that there are these good people in the system that are being neutralized, that are being silenced, just as I'm being silenced, just as all the other 50 people that have been reaching out to me have been silenced, and just as maybe my daughter is in line to learn that lesson very harshly. Lack of loyalty to her mother. She's going to lose her sweet 16. Daddy worked so hard to put together and save her from losing. Did it all himself. a house, DJ, everybody coming. Well, I'm putting out here on permanent public record right now, not the cherry-picked, okay, bit of information of me calling her a bitch or a whore or whatever she actually is. I'm a fiduciary. I have to speak accurately. But you're not going to hear the context with which I use those words, describing her exact behavior, which is the definition of those words. You're not going to see the pattern of what I just put out here, the entire conversation, email, text, phone. No other way. There's the location shows I've not been around her at all. There's been zero hearsay. Every bit of conversation has been recorded. But who hears it? Who knows it exists? Well, now it's on permanent public record. So now the cops don't have to sit there and just say, well, we got the restraining order and only this cherry-picked one text. Now you don't. Now you have this to know is going to be on permanent public record forever. And hopefully that gives the good people in this system the ability to stand up whoever might be putting this order in and say, nah, I'm not doing it. And I'm not standing for it being done. I'm not here to make you money. Jig is up. And now that we're uniting all these victims nationwide, and I'm understanding exactly how they're using these same tactics every place else. We've got the ability to now show this in federal RICO form that's now going forward. Just how guilty this system is. And what's going to do it is not all the victims just crying out their cases. We've been doing that for a long, long time. It's the combination of all the victims now joining with the people on the inside who've had enough of watching this child abuse, watching this destruction, watching this racketeering, this abuse, this pillaging from happening anymore. We figured out we don't have to sit back and just take it. And we're not going to. Thank you.